Hello, my friends. We're going to continue discussing A Course in Miracles. We're also going to continue with Chapter 9. Chapter 9 has drawn me in completely the past few days, each section at a time. I generally just read a section of a course each day, along, of course, with doing the workbook lessons. But I'm getting so much value out of the text this time around in my work for the course. It's always been focused on the workbook lessons for me. And the text has always been sort of background, filling in some key points as needed. But I don't know. I don't know why this time around it is the text speaking to me as it never has before. Each section at a time, wherever I dive in. I just happened a couple days ago to dive into Chapter 9. And I've been here ever since. Right now is Chapter 9, Section 7, the 2 evaluations. And yet again, this was perfect for me today. Perfect to talk about. Perfect to think about. God's will is your salvation. Just how it begins. Would he not have given you the means to find it? So, if God's will, which is our will, our ultimate will, is salvation, do we think that there'd be a means of finding it? Would God give us something we couldn't find? Especially considering how close it actually is. We don't really find it. We simply reveal it. If he wills you to have it, he must have made it possible and easy to obtain it. Your brothers are everywhere. You do not have to seek far for salvation. Every minute and every second gives you a chance to save yourself. Do not lose these chances, not because they will not return, but because delay of joy is needless. God wills you perfect happiness now. It is possible that this is not your will also? Is it possible that this is not your will also? And is it possible that this is not also the will of your brothers? So here's the main point of the 2 evaluations, that the ego evaluates all that it perceives and judges it. Everything. And it judges it harshly. Even say it judges it as wrong. And only the ego itself is correct. And we sort of careen through life. Judgment after judgment after judgment. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. If only things were more to my liking, more my way, the world would most certainly be easier, wouldn't it? However, the Course says that the evaluation of the ego is always wrong. Always. As well, the reason why it's wrong is because it's not real. It is looking at perceptions and not reality. Fortunately, we have the ego spirit. We have the Holy Spirit within. The Holy Spirit is our reality. It is the voice of God that is shared with us. An intermediary between our mind and God's mind. And it is always right. And it is always and only love. That's all it sees. So it cannot evaluate anything but love. It can't evaluate the ego because in reality, nothing unreal exists. It's an impossibility. So, of course, the ego will not evaluate itself from within. If it did, it would just lift itself on a loftier position while pushing everyone else down. Any moment, I love this section. Every minute and every second gives you a chance to save yourself. What an important realization. Every minute, every second gives you a chance to save yourself. How do you do that? Listen to the voice of the ego. Listen to that evaluation. The evaluation is always love. The ego sees only love. How do you forgive? How do you forgive the effects of the world? Not by looking at the effects, which is simply an evaluation of the ego. When you look at the effects and you look at the seemingly person who caused those effects, The ego judges. The ego sees mistakes, it sees errors, it sees those perceptions and makes them real. And so we live in a world where it's impossible to truly, truly forgive, as well as impossible to truly love, because it's always based upon a condition. When those conditions are gone, what's left? It's why love in the evaluation of the ego can so quickly turn to hate. But if it turns to hate, if it can turn to anything that isn't love, then it was never truly love. So again, how do we forgive? We, the ego, we don't. All we can do is evaluate from our perspective of ego. However, the Holy Spirit already sees everything as forgiven. It doesn't know anything else but forgiveness expressed as love. So we turn it over to the Holy Spirit, simply recognizing it's beyond me, which is why we ask for a miracle, which occurs instantly. Can I see another way? Can I have a different means of evaluation? So you give it to the Holy Spirit. God, love. It's that easy. And it can happen every minute and every second. We save ourselves. Any minute at all. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it. 2 evaluations. I urge everyone to dive into the course in your own manner. Start at the beginning, read to the end, or just dive in. Find these sections that speak to you. I do think it's valuable to read from start to finish and then maybe go back and do an intuitive sense. But who knows? Different for everyone. As well, lots of good books discussing Course in Miracles and giving a great discourse that is easy to follow, so that when you come to the Course, it's very familiar. One thing that you find, however you decide to dive into it, it will seem very familiar. Do you know why? Because it was written by an aspect of you, the deepest aspect of you. These are your words. All right, guys. Take care.